All right. So picking up where we left off, the last thing we did was modify our admin page. If we take a look at that here, we made some additions where we had our choice inline and we actually switched that to a tabular inline and then added an extra of 3 or 4. And then we adjusted our question admin so that the appropriate fields that we wanted were shown with other things collapsed. We also adjusted our display as to what was there in the options and our filter options, as well as our search options of what we could filter out on the admin site. All right, let's see here. What else did we do? Is there anything else? We added our filters, our search. Yeah, and then we added the project templates in order to bring that in. And we were going to look at bringing in our own branding. And that was one thing we started to do. And obviously you have to overwrite the entire template if you choose to do that. So for today, we're going to jump in and look at part 8. And I mentioned this a little bit at the end of last time, was the ability for you to install third-party projects into your project. Or third-party apps, I should say, or third-party packages that would go into your overall site. One of those that you could install is the Django debug toolbar. And what that would allow you to do is see, let me just bring up this project here so you can see it. This allows you to interact directly with the Django backend so that you can see what your queries were, what static files are being used by the website that you're currently connected to. There's some really cool debug information you can get when you choose to use it. And if you want that, you can get some instructions out here as to what it looks like and why you would use that. So installation, just follow the directions here. Essentially, you're going to add a few things inside your settings files and do some pip installs. It's not required that you use this for your final project. However, if you do choose to use Django, it can be beneficial when you're out there trying to troubleshoot and debug. All right. There are lots of other packages out there that you may be interested in. So if you come out here to Django packages, you can see all the different frameworks. There's other, 4,000 apps that are being stored or cataloged by this particular website, full-blown projects or other things that you can install there as well. So I've used this before. For example, if you want to have your full-blown content management system, you could use Wagtail, and Wagtail is kind of an overlay over Django to provide like a full-blown website. If you wanted to build a website based off Wagtail, looks a little something like this. So you would have a full CMS that looks like this, where you create your pages, your documents, your images, etc., just like a standard CMS that you guys would be used to, but it's all based off Django in the backend. So other ones that were apps that I've used in the past, let's look at the apps here. The REST framework, we actually played with that a little bit in some of the other projects we were looking at. That one would be if you wanted to build your own REST API, you could do that through that one. We talked about the debug toolbar. Django extensions is a pretty popular one that gets downloaded. Let's see, is there anything else I've used? Crispy Forms is really nice. So Crispy Forms is one that allows you to have DRY type Django forms, allowing you to filter and tag and pull things in and render them pretty cleanly inside there. So let's take a look at that so you can see what it is. And it's using a Bootstrap in order to do that. So like here, it would give you a nice example of what you could do with your forms page, including having highlighted sections and extra hint information, that kind of stuff. It makes things really nice and clean. And I encourage you guys to use those in your final project. That's the whole point of the plug and play type system, is that if there's apps out there you can use, you can go ahead and pull them in. Let's see, Django Filter is one I've seen in the past. That one, if I recall, allows you to do customizations on your query sets, and you can do that from URL parameters. So up here in the URL, somebody can send in information and it'll allow you to pull those kind of filters back out of there. So it's often used with the REST framework It's another way to pull information back. Some other third-party packages will sometimes require that one as well. I believe, without going through 174 pages of this, OAuth kit, I've used that one before to add OAuth to your project. So for example, if you don't want to have usernames and passwords, you want them to use their Google or Microsoft ID or something like that, you can bring those in with the OAuth toolkit and a couple others. I'm not remembering which ones are supported now because obviously it's been quite a while since I pulled that in. Let's see, does it tell us? Just does straight OAuth. So on any of the ones that support OAuth, you should be able to bring in there as well. Just trying to see if there was anything else I've used. Redis is one. MPTT, if you guys are looking to do like an Internet of Things type scenario where you want that information to come back to your Django project, that would be a particular package that might be of interest. Let's see here. I was going to say the social auth one was one, but it's been deprecated. That was one that allowed you to do all the common social media ones. So take a look. You can see all the ones that are out here. Some of these are fairly old now, like Django tables and a couple other ones. These are pretty dated, but there are tons of them out there that you may be interested in using. Okay. Again, you don't have to use those, but if somebody already wrote an app that's customizable to use in your project, it's like installing a third-party package to bring that in. Okay. On the advanced tutorial, it shows you how to use those reusable apps. So the idea here is that you would take like this Pulse app and you could write it in such a way that would allow you to pip install that into a third-party project or a third project. So we're all up and good there. That kind of finished out the tutorial, which kind of leads us into the mini project. So let's jump into it. And so today's going to be fairly short. I'm just going to get you guys looking at the mini project. Thursday, that means we probably won't meet. It will be a chance for you guys to work on this project in class. So you'll have some time during class this week to get caught up on the mini project 4. I know everybody was focused on getting mini project 3 out last week. So this gives you some extra time to work on this one. Remember, the due date for this won't be until, in our case, this semester would be November 9th. So you have a full week and 5 days in order to get that up. Basically, not this coming Sunday, but the following Sunday. So it's going to look like most of your standard mini projects. You're going to have the initial comments again at the top of your main Py file. This is becoming less and less important because in Django, you have so many different files. You don't just have an app.py like you had in Flask. So I'm not as interested in this one at the top of your Py file. You could do this in your manage.py because that's kind of your main file. So you could just tack your comments up in there. Proper import of your packages, you'll figure that out as you go. You have to get all those in the right way. What I'm really focused on is this 70 points, which is your Django structure, right? So set up the proper folder structure using the tutorial. You'll need a minimum of 1 app. So what am I looking for here? You're going to be using the command start project to start whatever you're going to do. And you'll run start app in order to create 1 app inside of your project. You may have multiple apps that you need to build into there. Remember, those are not commands that should be in your README. That should be something you do to establish your project. However, there are commands in your README that you'll need to do, and we'll talk about those down here at the bottom. You'll need to have a minimum of 5 pages again using a proper template structure. So just like we did in this one, you'll want to use proper templates. You'll need to have at least 1 page that utilizes some form of form that needs to be separate than any kind of login or log out type page, right? So some kind of form, something that you're grabbing from the user. You'll need to set up the Django admin and actually style your models for proper entry. No tight restrictions there, just make use of the admin system. So the goal is that you don't necessarily come in here, go to your admin page and just have admin site register 1 for every single one of your models. You should be doing tweaks to it to make it look like this so that it's nice and clean and actually useful in the admin interface. All right. Let's see here. You'll need to use Bootstrap again in your web templates. This case, I don't really care what you do here. Just make sure that you make use of, again, one modal this time around. So just like in Flask, I want you to use a little bit of Bootstrap to practice, but you make use of at least one modal there. And again, you'll need to have some sort of a register and login system. You can do some research on Django and figure out how to get that set up and pull up there. So I'm not giving you that one. The goal is that you actually go out and do some research. That one's pretty easy to implement. Again, Django has a lot of that stuff built in, so you can find some pretty simple setups for that. Again, I'm looking for a minimum of 5 commits as usual. I'm going to check out your main branch. I need to update that. It shouldn't be master, it should be main. Let's see here. Pip freeze, making sure you have all the right packages. Your README is extremely important for the Django project. So it should tell me what your project is, how to install the pip requirements, and how to execute the program. However, with Django, there's a couple of extra steps. So I should have a manage.py make migrations when it first comes in. I should also be the migrate command and what it does, and the create super user, which allows me to have a login on your admin website, right? So you want to make sure those instructions are in your README so that I can actually run it. Does anybody remember what the final command is to actually run the server? Final command is to run the server. Run server. So Python manage.py run server. That's the command you use to run the server.
I was right. I just didn't believe I was right.
It was too simple. All right. So yes, you'll want to make sure you have that command in there as well that tells me how to actually go ahead and start your project. Different than what we did in Flask, right? So it's important that you guys get those pieces in there. Now, again, what you do for this project, I don't really care. You can redo what you did in Flask if you choose to. If you want to have an entirely separate project, you can do that as well. If you're starting to like Flask and you think you may use this for your final project, you can use it as a jump start for your final project. All right, let's see. Rafat, Sam, do you guys have any questions?
No, Jason, I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah, I just need to talk to you after everybody's gone.
Jason, I only had a concern about the midterm exam we just took, and there was a question that was confusing. It came in both attempts, but I ended up getting both wrong.
Okay, I'll go back and look at that one here. I'll stop the recording and then we'll go back and look at that.
All right.
All right. Any other questions on mini project 4? Again, due date is not till November 9th. And I, at this point, don't intend to have class Thursday unless somebody messaged me and says that they're having issues with mini project 4. Otherwise, I really want to give you guys time to work on this one because you'll need it. You'll need it. All right, I'll stop this recording so that we have a starter video.